finally revealed. At 50 years old, Gary Neville is finally being honest about the mistakes that defined his reputation. Born in February 1975, Neville recently hit the half-century mark, giving us the perfect chance to look back at a career filled with as many controversies as trophies. The Manchester United defender built a legacy not just on his playing skills, but on his ability to create drama wherever he went. He was always loud, always opinionated, always ready for a fight. Whether it was running the length of the pitch to taunt rival fans, refusing to support anti-racism campaigns, or failing spectacularly as a manager, Neville has never been far from the headlines. He's turned 50 now, and while some men grow wiser with age, Neville remains as divisive as ever. He always had something to say, but now it's time to look at the facts. Perhaps nothing captures Neville's controversial nature better than the infamous celebration against Liverpool in January 2006. With Manchester United struggling to reclaim their Premier League dominance after 3 years without a title, the stakes were high when they faced their bitter rivals at Old Trafford. When Rio Ferdinand scored a dramatic 90th minute winner, Neville, then club captain, completely lost control. He sprinted from near the halfway line directly towards the travelling Liverpool supporters. In full view of thousands of fans and TV cameras, he engaged in a wild celebration, repeatedly punching the air and kissing the Manchester United badge on his shirt. The deliberate provocation caused immediate outrage. The Football Association wasn't impressed. They charged Neville with improper conduct and issued a fine. Sources disagree on the exact amount. Some say £5,000, others claim £10,000. But what's certain is that the FA also gave him an official warning about his future behaviour. Liverpool players, fans, and even the police condemned his actions, with authorities later blaming his display for contributing to disturbances between rival supporters. Did Neville show any remorse? Absolutely not. When contesting the FA charge, he famously asked if players should act like emotionless robots instead. Years later, he remained completely unrepentant, stating that the fine was absolutely worth it, and even joked it would have been worth a 120-match ban. He justified his actions by claiming Liverpool fans had been singing songs directed at him, and possibly his mother, throughout the match. This wasn't just a spontaneous outburst, it was a calculated performance, designed to antagonise rivals and reinforce his identity as Manchester United's tribal leader. By prioritising raw emotion over sportsmanship, Neville showed his willingness to cross lines that most professionals wouldn't. Neville's aggressive nature wasn't limited to celebrations. His playing style often veered into recklessness, as demonstrated during a League Cup match against Barnsley in October 2009. Captaining Manchester United for the fixture, Neville was shown a straight red card by referee Chris Foy in the 63rd minute for a dangerous challenge on Barnsley winger Adam Hamill. Reports indicate that while Neville won the ball, he left his studs high in the tackle, a clear red card offence in modern football. Manchester United were already leading 2-0 at the time, thanks to goals from Danny Welbeck and Michael Owen, and they managed to hold on with 10 men. Neville reportedly looked stunned at the decision, but analysts reviewing the incident concluded he could have few complaints about the referee's judgment. The Barnsley dismissal highlighted the aggressive edge that characterised Neville's defensive approach. His determination to win the ball often crossed the disciplinary line, showing how his commitment could sometimes become a liability for his team. Neville's capacity for controversy extended beyond his on-pitch behaviour. In January 2005, Nike and Arsenal striker Thierry Henry launched the Stand Up, Speak Up anti-racism campaign following an increase in racist incidents across European football. The initiative, symbolised by interlocked black and white wristbands, gained widespread support, with millions of wristbands sold and funds raised for anti-racism initiatives. Many prominent players, including Neville's teammates Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo, backed the campaign. Neville, however, took a different path. He publicly accused Nike of being involved primarily for public relations purposes and commercial gain, suggesting they were getting a lot of PR out of it for nothing, rather than showing genuine commitment to fighting racism. He warned that the campaign could be cheapened by becoming a marketing exercise. This wasn't just talk. Before Before a high-profile Premier League match between Manchester United and Arsenal on February 1, 2005, Neville, along with teammates Paul Scholes and then-captain Roy Keane, refused to wear the specially designed stand-up, speak-up tracksuit tops that players from both teams were supposed to wear. This refusal reportedly caused friction between the players before the game. The situation became so uncomfortable that Manchester United had to issue a formal statement affirming the club's support for anti-racism initiatives, including the Nike campaign. Nike defended itself, insisting the campaign was about racism, not publicity. While Neville may have believed he was taking a principled stand against corporate exploitation of a serious social issue, many viewed his actions as undermining a collective effort to combat racism in football. The timing was particularly problematic, occurring early in his tenure as Manchester United captain after Keane's departure later in 2005, and showed his willingness to voice unpopular opinions and challenge powerful organisations, regardless of the potential fallout. Perhaps the most humiliating chapter in Neville's career came a decade later when he attempted to transition from punditry to management. In December 2015, he was announced as head coach of Spanish La Liga club Valencia CF, a move widely described as a surprise and risky appointment given it was his first managerial role. The appointment raised immediate questions about nepotism. Valencia's owner, Singaporean businessman Peter Lim, was already a significant investor in Salford City and other ventures involving Neville and his former Manchester United teammates. While Lim publicly claimed he chose Neville for his football knowledge and potential rather than friendship, the connection was obvious and sparked scepticism. Initial intrigue quickly gave way to disaster. Neville had built an excellent reputation as a television pundit for Sky Sports, with many praising his detailed tactical analysis. However, the transition from the analyst chair to the dugout proved disastrous. Valencia failed to win any of his first 8 league matches in charge. The team struggled for consistent form, was eliminated from the UEFA Champions League shortly after his arrival, and suffered a humiliating 7-0 defeat to Barcelona in the Copa del Rey semi-final. Over his brief 28-match tenure, Neville managed only 10 wins, with 7 draws and 11 losses. His points per match average was a dismal 1.32. Critics highlighted his lack of prior managerial experience, his difficulties communicating effectively despite intensive Spanish lessons, and his failure to win over the club's supporters. Just 4 months after his appointment, Neville was sacked. In later reflections, he showed rare humility when discussing this period, admitting he felt out of his depth and describing his tactical approach as haphazard, saying he zigzagged around like I was on the waltzers. He acknowledged his failure to instill a consistent message or process and recognised the vast difference between analysing games as a pundit and making effective real-time decisions as a manager. The Valencia episode exposed the limitations of Neville's football intelligence when applied to management. His analytical skills proved woefully inadequate when facing the complex realities of coaching a top-flight team in a foreign league, dealing with player psychology, and adapting to a different football culture. Throughout his playing career, Neville developed a reputation as an aggressive defender willing to push boundaries. His disciplinary record offers statistical evidence of this approach. Over 400 Premier League appearances for Manchester United, he accumulated 53 yellow cards, placing him 5th among all Manchester United players during the Premier League era for cautions received. While 2 red cards over such a long career might seem relatively low, the high number of yellow cards reflects his consistent involvement in physical confrontations and his determination in the tackle. This aggressive edge was a double-edged sword, valued by Manchester United supporters for showing commitment, but criticised by opponents for crossing ethical lines. Today, at 50, Neville remains a prominent and divisive figure in football. As a pundit, the very characteristics that fueled his controversies, outspokenness, strong opinions, and a sharp analytical mind, have contributed to his success as a leading media voice. His willingness to be critical and offer definitive judgments generates the same heated discussions that followed him as a player. There's a fascinating contrast in how Neville reflects on his past. When discussing the Valencia disaster, he shows surprising self-awareness, candidly admitting his shortcomings and recognising he was out of his depth. Yet, when recalling the Liverpool celebration or Nike controversy, he remains stubbornly defiant, showing no regret despite the criticism and punishments he received. This inconsistency in self-reflection perhaps best captures the contradictions within Neville's character. He demands accountability from others, but selectively applies applies it to himself. He champions principles, but has been accused of undermining collective efforts. He offers insightful analysis, but failed spectacularly when trying to implement tactical ideas. As he enters his sixth decade, Neville's legacy remains complicated. The decorated player who won everything with Manchester United, the failed manager who couldn't survive 4 months in Spain, the respected analyst whose opinions carry weight, the provocateur who kisses badges in front of rival fans. All these versions of Gary Neville coexist, making him one of football's most complex personalities. What's certain is that Neville has never been afraid to make enemies. His career has been defined by conflict, with Liverpool, with corporate sponsors, with football authorities, and occasionally with reality itself. His tribal loyalty to Manchester United and unwavering self-belief have earned him devoted supporters and fierce critics in equal measure. At 50, when many men might mellow, Gary Neville shows no signs of backing down or softening his approach. The controversies that defined his playing days have simply transformed into the provocative opinions that fuel his media career. The young defender who ran the length of the pitch to taunt Liverpool fans has become the middle-aged pundit who still refuses to admit when he might be wrong. Gary Neville has always picked fights, with rivals, with brands, and even with fans. At 50, his battles may have changed, but his combative spirit remains exactly the same. Whether you love him or hate him, one thing's certain: football would be a lot quieter without him. If you enjoyed this look at the controversial side of football legends, make sure to like and subscribe for more stories that reveal what happens away from the pitch. The beautiful game isn't always so beautiful, and we're here to tell those stories too.